Când bilbili mai manit, pârță brăzăne ioanit. Când bilbili de fotă, dușmantă pafțea nărbotă. Când bilbili mai belit, pârță brăzăne evanghelit.
Considering what you told about that book that you read from communist Albania, that means actually that your grandfather did not know or learn it at school, because as far as I know, at school now you learn it with the Albanian alphabet, right? The 36 letters.
Well, their whole lives they didn't have education in Arberesh, so that includes also people from my parents' generation, like my cousins and everybody. They didn't start learning it at school. It was only in the 90s that it became a subject to learn at school.
Okay.
However, we have a bit of a complicated situation because they tried to standardize Arberesh to teach it in school, and in doing that they kind of erased all of the Sicilian words, which are a fundamental part of the language that people speak. So the research that I'm doing is about acceptance and attitudes and intelligibility, because standardization process is quite complicated of minority languages. So yeah, so for example, most people don't recognize the alphabet, even though it's in the street signs. It's only in 2 street signs in our village, but it's on all the streets in Piana degli Albanesi.
Piana degli Albanesi, yeah.
Yeah, but it's in standard Albanian, not Arberesh. So you have some funny situations going on there.
Yeah, because I went to Piana degli Albanesi, I think it was in 2016, and I saw like a street sign and there was written Bashkia.
Yeah.
And Bashkia, I understand it because I have some contacts with the Albanian from Albania, but I know that we say, for example, or at least the how do you say the Bashkia in English?
Town hall.
Okay, and so the guy who is in the town hall is the
mayor.
The mayor, okay.
Syntax, we say.
Okay, well, we would say müdür. Müdür is like the Ottoman word for it.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, probably how come they say Bashkia, but apparently you don't say Bashkia.
No.
It's just okay. It's like tourist kind of Albanian.
Kind of. I mean, for example, Shershi means it's a part of Piana degli Albanesi that's up on a hill, like above the what's called the near the old Bashkia, which we call Municipio.
Okay.
And Shershi is actually on like a part of like on a hill like this, and then the top of it is more flat. That's Shershi in Arbesh. But on the street signs, you will see Shershi pointing to the main square.
Yeah, like in Albania.
Yeah, but the word for square is Piazza, not Shershi. So one person said something really funny once. She said, "Oh, but I don't know where I'm going to go then. If I'm going out and I want to go to Shershi, I'm going to follow the sign to the square. I don't know where I am."
Puneve nu ishte sheshi. Puneve ishte Piazza. Edi, morta qencina mu thush sempre kur isha te hora. Te ku je vete? I thusha, ja me vete torta Katerina. E te chiasa pa borseta ka vesh. Vergogna. Piazza gli mu thush sheshi.
Esatto.
Ciumuno mu dedica di te kujan. Te ku ishte, te ku jamur, tjundra, që ishte një tjundra.
And you know, we have interesting things like that. And then in our village, we only have on the entrance to the village, it says Santa Cristina Gela, and then underneath it says Mirse Erdhet Sundachstein, which is standard Albanian. We say Mirse na Erdhet Sundachstein. Mir se na Erdhet.
Erdhet.
Yeah, exactly.
But you say that there was some kind of try to standardize the language. So they didn't just take Albanian to learn that to you in at school.
No, so I think during the 60s and 70s and early 80s, there were some ideas to teach Albanian. During that time, a lot of people felt connected to Albania because there's a lot of socialism in Piana degli Albanesi. And until they realized that the regime in Albania was quite bad, they had quite an idealized idea of it. But it wasn't very successful, but it did result in some of the people from Piana especially writing sort of plays or dramas or poetry in a kind of hybrid of Albanian and Arberesh, which they call Arberesh Kip.
Okay.
Unfortunately, some of the people that learn this way of writing or this way of speaking consider that to be a purer form of Arberesh.
Certo, më merr një fjalë shqipe se no një siciliane.
However, it's just really an invention. It's the effort that they tried to make was to standardize the language somehow. And this kind of Arberesh Gip became the standard that they tried to teach in school, which up until today is not very popular. So children learn it, they go home and their parents say, what are you talking about?
Yeah. But so you're not learning Albanian at school, but you're learning this hybrid kind of Arberesh Kip that you're saying.
Exactly.
Okay.
And but my grandfather, he didn't have any education in Arberesh at all. And in fact, during that period, nobody in Sicily could speak Italian, only very well educated people. And so my great grandfather, I've got a picture of him here.
Nice.
It's called
looking serious.
It's called Mastro Natach. And he became kind of he was the mayor of Santa Cristina Gela about 3 times, I think, up until the 50s. And he was actually one of the village translators. So he was well educated in Italian. And he used to even write people's letters to their girlfriends who lived in other villages and stuff like that. Or in America, or
like writing it in Arberesh or writing it they would speak in Arberesh, and so what do you want me to write in Italian?
Exactly.
Okay.
Because they couldn't speak Italian. And actually my grandfather emigrated to England where I live, and in the last 10 years of his life there was a time when he had a stroke where in the brain. And during those years, he couldn't speak Italian again. He forgot Italian completely. He spoke Arberesh and English. And his father was a Sicilian speaker and his mother was an Arberesh speaker. And he even wasn't speaking Sicilian. Arberesh was his language.
Okay.
It was actually part of the process of me learning.
There are similar things with my grandfather, who was actually a psalt in the church. So we're Greek Orthodox. You have the priest, which we call priest, and then you have the psalt. So this is the guy singing, psalming, as we say, on the side. And so that implies that you can read very well, because otherwise you cannot do this job. And which is not the main job, of course, but just some side thing. And that means that he could read, consequently also write very good. And in the village, people could not write and read. And so he would, for example, in the at the village cafe, they would have a newspaper, and he would translate it from Greek to Arvanitica. And not that people, especially men, spoke Greek, other very good, other not so good, but also at that time Greek was written like in a very, there was the spoken language and then there was the written language, which is a little bit more high class, let's say. and so it was very difficult for them to understand that, and he would translate that mostly in Arvanitica, actually, so that we are sure that everyone understands it correctly, you know.
Yeah, very similar story, actually. Yeah, and the language of everyday contact for our community, especially in those days, my grandparents' generation, was Sicilian. So when they used to go to the market in Palermo, for example, which is 20 kilometers away, even to this day, they speak Sicilian because they go to the market, everybody speaks Sicilian. Whereas we don't have Sicilian as a language in our community. So
Yeah.
so the contact was not with standard Italian, even until the 60s, you know?
Yeah. We have that a little bit also because in northern Greece, there is like the northern Greek accent, which is, you can understand each other, but it's quite with a normal Greek, let's say. But it's there are some differences, and if you speak that specific Greek of our region, you can easily understand Arvanitica than if you're just an average Athenian Greek, let's say.
Exactly.
That's for sure.
Când on bilbili mai manit pârză brăzăne ioanit Când on bilbili de fotă dușman tăpaf țanăr botă